Stand up.
From a defabricated garden shed in Rockland County, New York, USA, this is Stand Up with Pete Dominic. On today's episode, the delicate science of pooling urine on public transit.
Thank you, Pico, for kicking off this week with a grotesque opening. I love you for it. You're a thoughtful and amazing, kind man who we did a deep dive into Pico last week, and a lot of great feedback on that conversation, including from Mom, who was down over the weekend. So check that out from last week. If you're a listener who thinks they might like to talk to me about life and stuff and work and balance, then reach out. standupwithpete@gmail.com. I've got a very special episode for you here on this Monday, this Juneteenth, this observed Juneteenth, where it's now a national holiday, a federal government holiday. Pretty cool to have my daughters growing up with that. Maybe you went to a Juneteenth celebration. Maybe you are going to one today. Either way, I hope you learn more about our history of this country, its original sin, and how we are still fighting today over so many of the same issues. But on today's show, I'm talking with my dad and Eric Segall, who is also a dad, but that's coming up in about 34 minutes into the show. You can listen to my conversation with Segall, which is recapping the remaining cases coming down at the Supreme Court. Could be a very busy week in news. Of course, you got the hearings, day 4 on Tuesday, and I should be joined again by Jay Black and Noel Casler for that, going live. But you also may have these big Supreme Court decisions. We talked about them again with Eric Segall. But first, a very special conversation where my girls and I interviewed their grandfather, my dad, Chuck Dominic, Chisel D. We went out on the deck yesterday. I set up 4 microphones, and the audio isn't perfect as it would be in the shed or in a studio. I had to kind of cup my microphone, and Ava's was a little low, but my dad sounded great. I think it sounds actually pretty great. I mixed it, I edited it down a bit, and I think you're really going to like this. And after this, if you're a longtime listener from the old days, you may have remembered my dad's 70th birthday advice. Well, I found that old clip from 2014, and I'm resharing that 5 minutes of advice from my dad as well. So many of you have grown to love and respect my dad for his honesty, his bluntness, his humor, his empathy, and his wisdom. My dad is a pretty self-taught guy. He goes into a little bit as my daughters ask him all these great questions about his high school experience and some of his regrets about education and other things. It's a heartfelt, very funny. You get to see the dynamic here of our relationship. So I'm just going to press play and shut up and let you hear it and enjoy it. Hopefully you have a dynamic like this in your family. And sorry, it sounds like I'm being mean sometimes to Julia. It's our thing. We bust chops. Some people don't like it, but Julia and I know exactly what's happening, and we talk even about how it happens. And she's just great. Ava's awesome as always. And my dad, Chuck Dominic. Ladies and gentlemen, from our Father's Day on our deck to your family, it's the Dominics.
All right, I'll set the tone. Father's Day. Your dad's an audio engineer, professional. Please don't second guess me. I knew it was recording.
It wasn't.
Oh, shit, it's not recording. Okay, here we go. Happy Father's Day, everybody. We're here with the legend out on the deck. You may hear sounds of nature.
Who's a legend?
You are. You're the legend. It's Father's Day. You're here. Where I'm here with the girls as well. Your granddaughters, both Ava, 17. Julia, what are you? 14?
14.
Torse. Julia's a little under the weather. Her voice is a little worn.
Actually, I'm not sick, so.
Oh, well, tell that to your voice. Anyway, we're here to interview my dad, as you refer to him, the Bop Bop. Bop Bop. You don't call him.
Bop Bop.
Yeah, you don't call him the.
No.
Yeah.
Drop to the.
Yeah. Bop Bop here on Father's Day. I thought this would be a fun thing to do, and you guys seemed really into it, so let's go. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Julia, are you ready?
Yep.
To interview your grandfather.
Ready as I'll ever
Now,
be.
just to set the tone, just so you don't know this, there are going to be tens of people listening to this.
10?
Tons.
Just imagine there's an arena of people. That's what I always do. Okay, they're listening.
20 people in an arena that fits 30,000.
Follow your grandfather and I. Pick your spots. Say your piece. Let him do what he does better than anybody else. He's been on the air for years since we left football games, and he would call into the post-game game radio show from the car and complain about the coaching. Yeah, what was Coach thinking? Like, that was my introduction to your grandfather on the radio. And, of course, he was a big star on my show and now on the podcast.
Big star.
Big star.
Big star. That's what they called me.
And coming up, at the end of this conversation, you'll hear from his 70th birthday when I was on Sirius XM Satellite. He made a whole list of things
All right,
he learned.
let's go.
You want me to speed it up?
Yeah.
It's annoying. Wow.
Yeah.
You also felt I needed to tighten it up?
So did I.
Pick up the pace.
Everybody wants... Okay, here we go.
Thanks, here.
All right, so this is a question and answer with a grandfather and his granddaughters, and we'll let age lead. She rocks the mic anyway. Ava Dominic, of course, from the Good News segments. You know her from that, as well as her Instagram posts, which make me feel uncomfortable. Ava, you're on.
Thank you for that honorary introduction.
Yeah.
It was
you wanna look at my
well worth
Instagram?
listening to.
Yeah.
It's just my name. I look really hot in all the pictures. I guess enough to make my dad look uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
anyways, moving on.
Now your grandfather's also uncomfortable. Way to set the
I'm
tone.
not on Instagram, but if I do go on, I'm not going to look at what you're posting, obviously.
Right. It's probably
I mean,
probably for
I
the
think You guys
best.
make it seem
We
a
had a
little
talk
worse than
today,
it
and I'm
is,
still a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh,
from
you
that.
had he had a talk with you about the way you dress or something?
Nah, it was about different things. And
Oh, are we? That's not for air.
it was a very frank talk, and I'm glad Frank wasn't there.
Oh dear. Wow. I'd like to know more about that, but I don't know if that's
No,
for
it's okay.
public consumption. How did
No.
you feel about the talk? Just say that, Ava.
I think it was.
Comfortable for Ava and not for me.
I mean, I'll talk about anything. I don't really have much of a filter, and I don't really
No, you don't.
an open book, so I'll say
Yes,
anything.
open book.
All right.
filter.
Well,
Pop-up's not the same.
not the same. No, he. Well, it's hard to hear. You know, the two generations. It's hard for me sometimes, and he's a generation
Removed.
removed. So anyway, there's the dog. We'll stand by. Okay, she's gone. Okay, Ava, you're up with the first question for your grandfather. Let's go.
Okay, first, what was your biggest regret in high school?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, my biggest regret from high school.
Christian Brothers Academy, Syracuse, New York.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
The early
I-
60s.
I know that. Yeah.
Class of 63.
2.
Okay,
Who's going to answer this?
I'll take it.
No, my biggest regret, seriously, was that I never studied. Sometimes at the end of the year, I could turn in the book and it would be brand new because I didn't open it. I probably should have studied more. It would have done a lot better.
Would you say you failed high school, or
No, I managed to get through high school.
with the help of
I was,
summer school? You mentioned.
I
earlier.
went to summer school once. When they ranked us in high school, I was like one from the bottom.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
I
It
can't
wasn't
relate.
rough. I kind of glided through.
Well, don't you think school's for chumps, though, really? I mean, you did really well in your life.
No,
and
I don't think school is for chumps. I mean, I never said that. I mean, I would have been. No, it was just. She asked me the thing. I regret not studying. I probably should have studied. You know,
From what
I was there anyway. Why don't you just study?
just real quick, from what little I know of your high school career, it seems like the fact that you didn't study hard enough is your biggest regret. Seems like you're not wanting to tell the girls certain things. You don't want to tell them what kind of vagrant you were in high school. I mean, you committed crimes, probably. I mean, I sure did.
I mean,
I threw things at cars. I got arrested for mailbox.
look,
theft.
I went to a school that was a bunch of goody two-shoes who I couldn't relate to. The teachers were really strict and very good. And I didn't remain friends with all my high school buddies. It was, that's how it was. You got any more questions? We're beating this one to death.
Let's go to Julia. Julia, we'll speed these up. Go ahead, Julia. What is your first question for your grandfather? Born in 1944, folks. Do the math, and you'll figure out his age. But we're not going to mention it. 44, right there at the end of World War II. Julia. Go ahead.
Okay, what was your favorite thing to do when you were a youngster?
What's a youngster, by the way? What did you just find?
Who they interviewing?
Yeah,
I'm just punching it up a little bit.
a young boy.
Well, let's say from the time I was 10 to the time I was 16.
Yes.
All right. I like to play sports. I was terrible at it, but I like sports. I played baseball,
I can relate.
football, and they kind of knocked me around because I only weighed about 89 pounds. When I was a freshman in high school, I did not weigh 100 pounds when I went to school. When I started as a freshman,
Yeah. I can relate to that too.
one of them, I remember one of the big linemen coming over, and he looked at one of the other football players who was my neighbor, and that was my first day of high school, and he says, "What do you got in the bag? Another freshman?" And I looked at the guy's duffel bag, and I said, "Jesus Christ, I could actually fit in there." But that's what I did. I played. That's what I like to do, was play sports.
What was your favorite sport to play?
Baseball. Baseball was the only one that I was ever any good at all at. I couldn't shoot a basketball, and I was football. I couldn't run.
You discouraged me from playing basketball as a boy. You said,
Yeah, because you were terrible at it. You were as bad as me.
You said, quote, we don't play basketball.
Dominics don't play basketball. That's what I said.
I can attest to that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It
You're
is.
no good?
No, I'm
You're
not.
garbage on the court?
That's the one gym unit that I just can't
You
do.
hate basketball. It brings up a lot of issues for you?
It really
Actually, not
does.
that bad, to be
You're not- well, you're-
honest.
It's a family. It's a family disaster.
You did
Yeah,
install
it's quite a mess.
a basketball hoop, though, for me. You put that in.
In the yard, yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's great. I had a
Yeah,
lot
we
of...
used to lower it so you could reach it with
All
your
right.
ball.
Listen, girls didn't
And that's
need-
when you were 18.
Okay.
What's your next question, Julia?
Ava, I think you get the next one.
Oh, Ava gets one. Okay.
We're going back and forth.
So you said you went to a Christian all-boys school.
Yeah, it was, yes.
Did you poll?
Oh,
Did you
God.
poll girls?
Oh, Jesus.
What does that mean? Did we
Oh,
pull?
my God.
Did you get girls?
Did I get girls?
Yeah, did you have good game? Like going to an all-girls school, all-boys school. What was the...
You have to
Romance
understand.
thing.
Okay, let me set the scenario. The high school I went to was on a road, basically, sort of, kind of at the time, almost in the country. Almost, they just built it. We were the first graduating school out of there. It's a long story, anyways. But we were like
Did you poll?
in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know what polling means, but if it had anything to do with a girl,
Were
it
you
was really
successful?
difficult because they were all boys.
You're saying that whether or not you wanted to poll, it wasn't about talent. It was about access, and there just wasn't.
There was no girls.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That was a wildly inappropriate question for your grandfather.
What does poll mean? Is that
I don't. Let's move on.
Okay.
I don't know who that. Okay. All right, Julia, you're up, and you've got another question for Bob. Born in Cortland, New York, folks, at the age of, he fell off a tricycle and put his tooth through his lip. That was a early crucible moment, Dad.
Yeah, that's when I was 3.
Tough stuff. Okay, Jewel.
Going along with sports and baseball,
Yeah.
I've always seen you watching the Yankees, and all the time they seem like they're your favorite
They are.
baseball team. And so I'm just wondering, what is the fascination? Is there anything specific with the Yankees that you love so
I like
much?
their uniforms. They have stripes. And my grandfather was a Yankee fan. My father was a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan. Your father's a Yankee fan. And damn it, you better be a Yankee fan.
Who's your favorite Yankee player?
Of all time?
Of all time? Phil Rizzuto.
Yes. Who?
Phil Rizzuto.
What number?
Oh, gosh.
You don't
2.
know his number?
No, that was Jeter.
No, he wasn't 2. Peter was 2.
Rizzuto's number, I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah. But why Rizzuto? Did you ever meet him?
No, because I played shortstop, and yeah, I did meet him. I played shortstop, and he was a shortstop. He was a very little guy. I was a little guy. And my father kept saying, look at Phil Rizzuto. He's a little guy, and he can play. So I liked Phil Rizzuto and Yogi Berra. And your dad introduced me to Yogi Berra one day, and we had a really nice chat. And I met Phil Rizzuto and bought him breakfast one day.
And your grandfather introduced me to Mark Gastineau of the New York Jets when I was a young man, and that was a really big deal for me because I loved he played football, and I got to meet him in Syracuse.
Later on in life, I believe he was convicted of domestic abuse, but then he found the Lord and turned his life around. Anyway.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one he found.
Have you met any of your heroes?
You have a hero.
I met the Russo brothers.
That's right. Yeah, the directors. Julia, have you? Who are your heroes that you'd like to meet?
Kendall Jenner.
Okay, moving on. We'll edit that out.
Really good, yeah.
Edit that out. I think it's.
Kim Kardashian.
Oh boy, these
All
are
right,
not
don't
my
ask her for any more heroes.
children's.
Stop it.
Ava, you've got a question for your grandfather.
How many siblings did you say you had?
Well, I had, how many did I say I had? I had an older sister and a younger brother, and they died. And then I have a younger sister who lives in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh. Aunt Julie. Shout out to Aunt Julie.
What was it like to have a group of siblings growing up? Did you have like a favorite sibling?
Well, my brother and I grew up in the same bedroom, literally. I mean, we grew up there, and my older sister was like a third parent, and we didn't get along that great. And Julie was always the youngest one, so we kind of picked on her.
Yeah.
I don't think we had favorites. We were all just like one another,
Julie is my only sibling, but
yeah.
I think that if I had a different one, I would like them better.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I
I can
relate.
see where you're coming from.
You're saying if you had a different sibling, you'd like it better than the one you have while you're sitting next to the one you have?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
It's cool.
Stop. Ow.
Aw, they're silly. Gooses. Dad, to ask a serious question, I think you had something to say about this. What did you learn when Uncle John died? I feel like you learned a lot about what you wanted to do with your life and stuff when your younger brother passed away kind of early of blood cancer, multiple myeloma. And the girls never really got to know him, and I was very close with him. And
yeah. What did I learn when my brother died?
I don't know. I felt like you made different choices after that, but maybe
No.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I don't think you have a clue.
Something about your relationship, like with money and outliving your money, something like that.
Well,
You talked about that on the...
Yeah, I don't think I had anything to do with John, though. The question is kind of...
Because your brother didn't spend money.
No, he didn't spend any money, but he had a lot of it.
Yeah, he had a pair of jeans
He
and a hat.
accumulated a lot of money,
Yeah.
and good for him. I mean, that's what they were into.
Yeah.
He was... that's my brother, though. It's not me.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, next question. Let's move on then. Julia,
So, when you were a young boy, you liked to play sports?
is that the same as youngster, young boy? Is it
Yes.
Okay,
Let me speak.
sure.
Now that you're much older, you seem to be very active all the time. And how old are you turning in July?
78.
48. And so I was just wondering, how do you keep the motivation to always be this active?
That's a great question, Joel.
That's a really good question, because the motivation with me is that it's well, first of all, to be motivated at this age it's a lot harder. It's harder to do the things I used to do, and some of the things that I used to love to do have become so difficult that I dread doing them. And that's, but as far as the motivation goes, the motivation is that I better do it, or I won't be able to, walk or run or ride my bike or do anything if I don't just keep doing it. I don't. To me, it's being active physically has always been the most natural and normal thing anybody can do. That's why we have this body, so we can move it around.
Well said, well said.
Are you still planning on biking 78 miles for your 70th birthday?
Yeah.
this year?
You're going to ride, he rides the equal amount of miles to the age that he turns, and so you're planning, and it's the hottest time of the year to do it. Which
This is the thing. Here's the thing.
Maybe you should wait.
What I do now, it's going to be 90 degrees. I can always do it tomorrow. Nobody's going to know the difference, because it's just me and the bike and the road. I mean, it's not like I got an audience I have to show up for.
Right.
So it's not a big deal.
Well, everybody knows now, so maybe you should ride.
No, it's whatever. I did it in October once, and it got dark before I was done. It was
Lay Sola. He waited all the way to October to ride his bike.
It was under the circumstances. It was the earliest in the year I could. I did it. It's okay.
That's a great tradition. I'll never.
Yeah.
I realize I'll never be in as good a shape as him.
That's why I really don't want to live to be 100.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there on the bike on 100. Along the lines of being active, real quick, worst injury as a result of activity, from skiing, teaching skiing for how many years? 44 years, to competitive cycling, to baseball where I know you broke your leg, to mountain biking where you broke your collarbone. You also, is it grass skiing when you broke your head?
No, I didn't break it. I just had a concussion.
Oh, well, that's a broken head, is it not, girls?
I don't know. I fell down and was knocked out.
I think a broken skull is a broken head.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Didn't you break your skull that day?
No, I just
Okay.
fell down.
All right. Anyway, what was the worst injury of all your activities, would you say?
The worst injury, I don't know. The one that kind of still bothers me more than any of them, actually, is I have a torn rotator cuff, and I can't throw anymore.
Oh.
My right arm, I have a torn rotator cuff.
Huh.
That's probably the worst one. I fell on it skiing a couple of times. I was on a run with your brother, actually, and he said, Dad, you never fall. And about 2 minutes later, I landed upside down on my shoulder. And so...
really got in your head there.
No, not really. It was one of those things,
All right.
just coincidental.
Bad karma.
Does anybody have any questions left?
Not that I know of.
All right. So, Dad, I know you've got a few things that you want to talk about. Here at the end, impart any wisdom you want as you...
Impart wisdom?
Well, say whatever the hell you want to
I'd be
say.
the guy to do that, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, and girls, if you have any, quickly, this is the lightning round, but if you have any questions, jump in there. And if you obviously have any jokes, if you want to take a dig at the old man, I would highly encourage it. Okay. Go.
I wrote notes down, okay?
Okay, let's
Because
go.
you just came up to me and I said, I wrote these things down. I said, don't be too careful. It will ruin all the fun. Mm-hmm. And you already described some of the crashes and accidents I'd had. And that's not the fun part. But if I didn't do all that stuff, none of that stuff would have happened to me. But that was worth it.
All the activities that you did were worth it, despite the 19 surgeries.
Yeah, that was all worth it.
Okay.
That's the one part of my life that if I had to do over again, I wouldn't shy away from that.
You ever kill a man?
That's not to be a question that should be asked on this.
That's a weird non-answer from your grandfather, isn't it? Any follow-ups on that?
Well, yeah, you should love your family because when everything is said and done, that's what's always going to be there. I read my notes.
He just segued right into his next. Skipped right over murder.
And
what was that? If you should love your, say it again.
You should always love your family. My mother taught me this. She always said this. She says, you got to love your brother and be close to your brother because when everybody else is gone,
yeah.
All your friends are gone and everything, your brother's still going to be there.
Weird, because he moved to the top of a mountain in Colorado.
Yeah, he was still there for me. Though,
All right.
And some things will never change. You don't have to accept it, but you may have to live with it. And, if you think about that, there's things in life that they're just going to be there. That's the way it's going to be. So, just live with it.
Do you have any examples?
Examples of things that will never change? Yeah, there's a lot of things.
He's about to throw me under the bus.
Throughout your life that, like, for instance, authority. Okay, authority will never change. There's always going to be authority. And now that may sound kind of weird, but I've always been kind of against authority,
Kind of.
I don't like authority, but I can't change it. So I've learned to live with it. I like rules and regulations now. No, I don't.
What do you guys think of authority in general? Being told what to do?
Yeah, I never like being told what to do, but I guess it's a part of life.
Most people don't, yeah. Julia, how do you deal with your principals and assistant principals? Seems like you give them a really hard time.
I deal with them my own way.
And she does deal with it.
My own way. She's got a special set of skills.
Yeah.
Okay, Dad, what else you got
She
over there?
does. There's a lot of stuff I wrote down about getting older, and getting older is it's as hard as I was afraid it would be.
Huh.
And I was hoping it wouldn't. I was hoping it wouldn't be like this, but it is. So old is old. There's nothing you can do. But I guess the one thing you can do is get older later. Don't get older younger. That's what I've tried to do is get older, not earlier. You follow that? Kind of a chronological thing. Don't get older when you're 50. Get older when you're 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, like live life.
Yeah, live life.
Yeah.
Do things.
Don't get older when you're 50, get older when you're 80. I like that.
Yeah.
So stay in as good a shape as you can, be as healthy as you can be, and
Live your life until you can't.
live your life until you can. Do you have a bunch of posters you're reading
I
from?
like that.
The hell?
Live old.
You've got a daily affirmation calendar in your brain?
Live your life to the fullest.
The days.
What is happening?
Live your life until you're unable to
Are these Kim
live it.
Kardashian tweets?
No, Kourtney Kardashian always says, I'm just living my life.
I love you.
And I agree.
That's great.
Great.
Did
Dad,
she say that really?
She always says
That's
it, leave
quite
me
a-
alone. I'm just living my
Leave me
life.
alone. And then she shows everything on, I guess. I don't know.
Cool. You know you're adopted, right?
Yeah.
I've always wondered.
Yeah. Days seem to go slower and the weeks go faster. There's one. Here's something that I do believe.
Yeah.
People do ask stupid questions.
Oh.
What's this thing that people, well, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who ask stupid questions and they do it frequently.
Like, what is the phone number of 1-800-Flowers?
Yeah.
They just said it. They just said the number. That's the number.
Yeah.
It's 1-800-Flowers.
I don't understand when people say letters and
yeah.
numbers. Like, how do you...
Oh, my God. You don't understand. She doesn't understand when people say letters and the numbers because they don't understand. They don't
What
have,
does that mean?
Well, they don't have.
How do you know what flower is?
You never had a dial phone either, so.
Right. Well, you would never get any flowers.
Yeah.
How about this stupid question?
Yeah, pull that, sweetheart.
Oh, wow. What time is the 3 o'clock parade is a dumb question.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. You get it?
Yeah.
At 3.
You gotta be stupid to ask that.
Yeah, they ask that every day at Disney World. Go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
Here's something that I wrote down. When you and your brother, that's you, Peter, and Brian, were young, you had a lot of fun doing things, all of us together. But being younger means stress. Now it's so easy to be a grandparent, and the stress part is gone. When you're young and your kids are young, you're under a lot of pressure all the time because you got to watch over your kids. You got to watch over your life. You got to watch over your business or your job, and you got to worry about the mortgage. And then when you're a grandparent, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And then you just have your grandkids, and it's easy because you look at your kids and they're all worried about making mistakes as parents, and you're kind of letting it roll off your shoulders because it's all going to work. It's all going to be okay. And having grandkids is like, that's like the easiest thing in the world. And I've got great grandkids.
Yeah, which do you prefer?
Which one, the two?
Yeah.
He knows it's me.
Oh, they each know how I feel about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they each know, and I've told each of them individually how I feel about the other one, so there's no doubt.
Do you even like Julia?
I love Julia. She's my favorite.
There it is.
But I love Ava just as much, and she's my favorite.
He called us, he would call Brian and I his favorite son. All right, well, last one, Dad.
I have to stop now?
No, I mean, I know you want to do an hour. We got to get the Father's Day dinner going.
That's true.
The grill up.
Here's the best one that I love. This is, like they say, you coin a phrase.
Yeah.
If you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're not.
Oh, that's nice.
What do you guys think of that one?
I never think I'm the smartest one in the room, so.
That's a good one. I like that, Dad. What about if you think everybody's an asshole?
Yeah.
Maybe
you're the asshole.
You're the asshole. Yeah. I like that. You taught us that one. And the most important thing you taught me, I think, in these kind of quotes and stuff, is find a job you enjoy doing. Why was that an important lesson?
Well, because you don't want to go through your professional life selling insurance.
Oh, that was personal. You didn't like selling insurance.
Hated it. Okay. Yeah. This interview can end now.
Okay. Doesn't want to talk about selling insurance, apparently, which is how we supported our family.
Don't get a job for money.
Don't get a job for money.
Yeah, all my generation is just like, oh.
That's your whole generation thinks that?
No, everyone thinks, I'm like, what do you want to do? And I don't know, I just talk to people and they're like, I don't care as long as I'm rich. Like, I don't care if I'm happy, because they're like, everyone's always like money over happiness.
Money over
happiness. I don't agree, but my generation does.
Oh. Yeah, they do.
What do you think, that money or happiness? Does money equal happiness? I think a certain amount does, right? Have a certain amount.
It's easier to be happy if you've got money. Yeah. I can tell you that.
But how much? But you were happy with your money. That wasn't a thing.
Well, let's put it this way: when you guys were young, we had no money.
Well,
we had no money, and we were happy. And if we had money, we would have been happier.
Right. Less stress.
Yeah.
But after a certain amount, once we had, we lived in Bellflower Circle. It seemed like.
Yeah.
We did a lot of fun
things.
What would you have done anything differently if you had more money? I feel like you wouldn't have. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we did it all.
Oh,
I mean, we would have done less camping.
That's one of the things I wrote down. If people say if I had it to do over again, well, if I had it to do over again, I'd change a whole lot of stuff. There's only one thing I wouldn't change if I had it to do over again.
Yeah.
I would marry the same lady that I married. Other than that, I would probably change everything.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would change.
You would have said to me right away.
No, you'd still be here. I'd still have the same family. I'd marry the same lady.
Well, that's very sweet.
And I would have changed a whole lot of stuff.
If you had it to do over again, would you still marry Dad? She said absolutely.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
And this year you celebrate how many? She's asking to reconsider, as a matter of fact. How many years will this be in August?
51.
51 years. Girls, just wish your grandfather a happy Father's Day. And anything else you want to say? You want to probably plug your Insta space or something?
Insta space.
I don't know what that is.
Go ahead.
Happy Father's Day.
Thanks, girls. Happy Father's Day, Pete.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Papa.
Goodbye.
Thanks for letting us interview you.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Love you.
We love you.
right.
Yay.
The show is sponsored by Corvettes. Corvettes. They will literally make you happier.
Okay, well, there you go. That took place on our deck yesterday, from my family to yours. I hope you have some similar dynamic with either your parents or other family members in your life where you can just kind of toss the ball around the way that we do. I'm sure it's different, but hopefully you got a sense of our dynamic and our humor, and it's all in good fun and love, and I don't think anybody gets hurt. So hopefully that came through to you, and hopefully that's exactly what everybody feels in those conversations. And so I hope you liked it. And now I also have one more thing from my dad. This is like 5 minutes. It's from 2014, so over 7 years ago. It was when my dad turned 70, and I was on Sirius XM. So this is from the old show, and it's just a whole bunch of lessons my dad has learned. And some of these you might agree with or even be offended or annoyed by, but this is my dad putting it out there. And whoever edited this put the music too high, and it's all on one track, so I couldn't do anything about that. But I hope you like it. If not, just fast forward. If you want to get to Eric Segall now, you can. But this is one of my favorite things that I've done with my dad, and I've done a lot of fun things on the radio and in my life with him. But he wrote these ideas down and read them, and at the time, it got just amazing feedback. So more from Chisel D, more wisdom from Pop. And how about his call out about Biden and Putin from 2014? Dad.
Today is my dad's birthday, and I've got my dad joining me on the phone right now. He turns the big 70, and he's in better shape than any 70-year-old I know. Happy birthday, Pop!
Hey, good morning, Pete. Happy birthday to me. I wrote some notes last night.
What do you mean?
Want to hear what I wrote?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. There's 70 items here.
All right.
Okay.
We've got...
You can stop me anytime you want to.
All right, what do you got?
Eat less meat. Run someplace at some time. The last 10 years were the fastest, but they always are. The 3 women in my life are what I live for. It's always a good day when both my sons call me. It's okay to outlive your money. Racing is the best. It doesn't matter what kind of racing. Big Red is the best car I've ever owned. It's okay not to outlive your money. Having children is the best. Having grandchildren is better. Kids are better than adults. Kids are more interesting than adults. It's okay to work hard. Everybody has bootstraps. It's fun to enjoy. When you buy something new, get rid of something old. Always check your rear view mirrors and learn how to adjust them. Drive with 2 hands on the wheel. You'll pay attention more and crash less. Animals are okay, but they're not as important as people. Joe Biden is my favorite politician. Putin really does not have a soul, and neither does Dick Cheney. War is wrong. Listening to one side will make you ignorant. Listening is more important than talking. Satellite radio is better than terrestrial. I have learned more from my sons than they have from me. My sons are good teachers. Mary has always been my good influence. She has helped me to morph. It's okay to drink. It's more okay not to. Hangovers mean you are stupid. You'll never meet a con man you don't like. Politicians want to be loved. Family is more important than... I just kind of left that blank. You can fill anything in there you want to. My mom always had good advice, and she gave it out through guided discovery, and she was the best cook ever. My dad worked hard and told me that my attitude was my biggest enemy, but he taught me how to play baseball, and I still love baseball. Want me to keep going?
Yeah, I'm loving this.
I wrote a letter to my favorite son 20 years ago. It was a lot about their future. I reread it, and I was right. Sometimes you should pick up the dinner tab. It shows appreciation. Birthdays are no big deal. Everybody has them. When I was 19, my car broke the drive shaft. I had a spare in the car. I had a flat tire on Route 17 in 1964 in a blinding snowstorm, 100 yards from the only garage for 30 miles. And he had a Chevy wheel with a spare tire on it. We drove across the country, and we're going to do it again. I have never tasted a microbrew. I chewed tobacco till I saw a guy with no chin. I would love to drive a McLaren on a racetrack. I knew we would never go to war again after Vietnam. The college was a great experience. I wish I had done it. When I was 12, I knew I wanted to own my own business. And I don't take orders well. Slowing down is easy to do, but it is hard to live with. And I never learned tolerance. Tony Canan is really that nice a guy. My bike goes uphill slower than it used to. My skis go downhill slower than they used to. But I fall asleep faster than I used to. Everybody should look at sex like a sport and always keep practicing to try to get it perfect. It's okay to go to sleep mad with your wife if you go to sleep in the same bed. Toronto is my favorite city. Everybody should see the Grand Canyon. I want to go to Alaska and Nepal in that order, and maybe Kathmandu. I read a lot about Everest, but I don't want to climb it. We laugh a lot, Mary and me, and I miss racing my bike. I started teaching skiing because we couldn't afford tickets. I can't stop because I enjoy it more than ever. I was on a stage with Peter, and I loved it. Brian invited me to Aspen, and I loved it. Home runs are great, but triples are more exciting. I told my granddaughters I would never yell at them and never say no. I have to be very creative. My granddaughters are more creative than me, but they always have a hug for me. I still do business with a handshake, and if it wasn't for surgeon, I really would be black and crippled. You can't help it if you get old, but you don't have to get fat. Never get emotional with business. Remember, these are the good old days.
Yeah, Dad, from 2014. These are the good old days. I think that's my dad's way of saying be present, be mindful, be in the moment. I hope you like that. I certainly did, and I was happy I found that at the time when we first played it at SiriusXM. It went viral for us, at least. People just loved it, so hopefully you did just now, and I'll pass along your messages to him. Shizzle D, everybody. He's not on the social media, but yeah, we talk all the time. I was sad to see my mom and dad pull out yesterday. I missed them, and I was so happy that they were here for the weekend. And over the weekend, I also spoke to Eric Segall, who joined me to talk about the remaining cases at the Supreme Court. Now, he has COVID, so I feel like this segment that we did is similar to a lot of what we talked about last week, but there's definitely some new stuff. We talked a little bit about Father's Day and more, but Eric Segall and I sat down to talk a little bit more, rehash again one more time what is left, what is yet to be decided at the Supreme Court, his predictions and his analysis. As always, Georgia State law professor, author of Originalism as Faith, Supreme Myths is his first book. Also, that's the name of his podcast. If you haven't checked it out, you really should. On Twitter, at eSpinSegall. It's the Legal Eagle.
Hello.
Happy Father's Day to one of the best fathers I have ever met.
Back at you, friend. Back at you.
Oh, sorry. This is Eric Segall. I thought I was talking to Aaron Carroll.
No, exactly.
Also, how you feeling? It's been about a week since you got diagnosed with COVID. How was your week with COVID?
Terrible, but better than many who got sick. I'm congested and a little tired, but I can't complain compared to other people. But I got to tell you, all four of us with COVID, all four of us quarantined for a week. We're ready for it to end.
Oh, I did not realize it spread to everyone.
No, Kai and I tested positive on Saturday, Sarah Sunday, and Lynn on Wednesday.
Oh, wow. Okay, well.
We're all. Sarah had no symptoms. Lynn has a few. Kai had symptoms the first couple days and is now pretty good. I'm still congested. You can hear it in my voice. I don't know why I'm congested, and I'm a little tired and definitely grumpy. But the grumpy part could be just that we're living in a world that is terrible. So I don't know.
Well, I wanted to get your take on several things. But any Father's Day plans, traditions, anything you want to say about fathering? You of course, are
Well,
close to your dad. You have 3 daughters of your own.
So my dad and I are going to play. My dad's 93. He's in, retirement community in Boston. We've been playing online bridge together since COVID began. And so we will play online bridge tomorrow at 11 o'clock, which, his days are long. So that makes his days shorter. So I'm glad about that. I don't think I'll get to see Jesse tomorrow, my oldest, because we're all still, I was positive yesterday and we're all positive, and Jesse really can't come over. So that's sad. I don't know if we've ever spent a Father's Day apart, to be honest.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Now, if I wake up tomorrow morning and test positive, again, we're taping this Saturday night, so who knows when it's airing. But if I wake up on Sunday and we're all positive, but the thing is, Lynn won't be positive no matter what, I don't think.
You mean negative?
I mean negative. I keep getting those mixed up because I suck. Anyway, so that's that. How about you? What are your plans for Father's Day?
My parents are in town.
Oh, excellent. Good.
Yeah. So we're gonna hang out tomorrow with my dad's gonna be here, and we'll have a whole thing. It'll be fun.
Well, I am thankful that my dad at 93 is still, with it. He has short-term memory issues and he can't walk. But besides that, he's reasonably healthy and he's reasonably, and he's definitely present. So last night, Pete, I did my dad's retirement home has these community talks, and they invite people in and stuff. And I did one virtually last night. And I've told you this before. This is the 3rd one I've done for them. They're the best audience ever. My dad's retirement home is in Wellesley, Massachusetts, which is 20 miles from Boston or so. It's incredibly liberal, and it's the best audiences I ever get because there's always they're all on board with everything I say.
What did you do your talk about? Did you do a little Q&A too?
I did my talk about what's left of the Supreme Court, which is what you and I are about to talk about.
What's left of the Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen?
At the Supreme Court.
What's left at the Supreme Court for the month of June?
Yes. Well, or maybe July, because I don't think maybe they'll get it all done by June 30th. They usually do, but there have been a couple times they've gone to July 1st or 2nd, and I everything I read from people I trust, like Robert Barnes of the Washington Post, or Adam of the New York Times, or Joan Bisquat, who was supposed to be on my podcast last week, but I had to cancel because of COVID. They're all saying the same kind of thing. The court is really apparently in disarray. I mean, we have this. I don't do this.
Reporters that cover the Supreme Court for a living, therefore having all kinds of. Well, the best sources are saying what, and specifically?
Well, I think between the leak and
the leak of the abortion judgment and the Ginny Thomas,
and just the fact that they, it's interesting.
The threat on Kavanaugh.
Well, what's interesting is so they had planned on issuing decisions this June on abortion, guns, 2 big religion cases, and this huge EPA case. So that's 5 really big cases. And it's hard to believe they'll just go conservative. But they might. Who knows? This court hasn't. We don't know if this court is going to follow the same kind of conventions as the past. So there's a guy named Barry Friedman, and he's at NYU Law School, one of the great law professors in our country, old friend of mine. He wrote a 700-page book called The Will of the People. It's a great book. It's just too long. I begged him to make it shorter. But anyway, and the thesis of this book, which was true when he wrote it, is about, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact date, but it was a while back. When he wrote it, the 700-page tome was dedicated to this proposition. Although the court sometimes veers a little too far left, like in the Warren Court, or a little too far right, kind of in 1930, throughout most of American history, the court stays left of center, right of center, and within, a standard deviation of the moderate American voter. He says, he wrote that book, and he was right when he wrote it. He has recently said publicly a couple times, that thesis may no longer be true. And we don't know. We don't know what Kavanaugh and Barrett and Gorsuch and Alito and Thomas are going to do. So, one of the reasons we want to talk today was there's no decisions Monday because it's a holiday. So the next time we get opinions is Tuesday. This coming Tuesday. There are 20 cases left. 20. To be decided or issued in 2 weeks. Of those 20, there are many important cases, but there are 5 that would be the front page of the New York Times. There are 5 that are, super duper important. Are they really going to go conservative? I mean, maybe, but boy, that'll be beat. I mean, abortion, guns, 2 religion cases, and fighting climate change. Are they going to just go completely nuts on all 5 of them? I don't know. It's hard to believe, but I think the gun case, we'll talk about in a second, is one where they may end up going very narrow and not doing much because of all the recent gun tragedies. But this is a different, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's we have 5 really super conservative judges. And that's not including Roberts, who, by the way, is a super conservative judge. So I don't know.
By the way, the January 6th hearings are also Tuesday, so Tuesday could be a pretty heavy news day.
Yeah, I'm very flummoxed and confused and don't have strong opinions. It's not my area about whether this is a political success or not. I don't know the answer to that question. I really don't. I don't.
The easiest answer to that question, I think, just real quick, is had Democrats with Republicans on board, Kinzinger and Cheney, not done this, the politics for Democrats would have been so bad if there wasn't, they tried to have a special committee outside of Congress, I think, like they did with the 9/11 Commission, and all about what the tower. But I mean, had they not done it, it would have been so bad for
right. No, they had to do something.
But I think there's a pretty good amount of evidence that it's making a difference. I
hope so. You know what I was thinking, Pete, when you said that? Watergate, Iran-Contra,
the
insurrection, blowjobs. I'm not. I mean, your audience. I hope your audience remembers or knows. I think Bill Clinton should have resigned, not because he got a blowjob, but because he got a blowjob from an intern, and that power dynamic is wrong, and he should have resigned.
Yeah.
Having said that, and it was bad, and lying about it was.
JFK had sex with an intern, and I think she had never had sex with a man before, is my understanding.
I don't know, but I think he should have resigned. However, whatever Bill Clinton's sexual addictions or foibles are, they do not compare to Watergate, Iran-Contra, and the insurrection.
Right.
Republican. It's just a description. I saw some stat the other day that I didn't repeat because I can't believe it's true. But it's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Republican executive branch officials have been indicted since 1972 or something, and like 21 Democrats. I mean, it's really, it's.
Corruption definitely isn't a partisan thing, but the kind of corruption I think does matter, and certainly the frequency at one point or another,
and the fact that Bill Barr was involved in 2 of them. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So in terms of the hearings, who knows? But there could be. So let's get to these cases. I mean, we covered this last week to some extent. So. What else new do you want to say about certainly this gun case, which is about New York State, and we talked a little bit about it last week?
Well, what I want to say about the New York case is in normal times, I don't think there used to be this cliche, I forget who, attributed to a very famous journalist, I forget who, that of course the justices, follow the headlines and the election returns. They pay attention to that stuff. If they still do that, then they have to issue a very narrow decision in this New York case, which involves a law that's been on the books for 108 fucking years. And there have been laws similar to New York's law since the founding. Basically, it says you have to get a special permit to conceal carry a handgun. And of course, whatever New York thinks about the relationship between gun rights and public safety, or alleged gun rights and public safety in Western New York or rural New York, Manhattan's a whole different ballgame, obviously. And New York should be allowed to decide for itself how it wants to deal with that, just like Montana should have a right to deal with it, just like Savannah, Georgia, and Albany, New York, and Boston, Massachusetts. I keep saying this on your show, and I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. There is no constitutional law issue. Not abortion, not free speech, not religion, not equal protection, nothing as local as the balance between public safety and gun rights, assuming we have gun rights. That's the first thing I want to say. So what works in Savannah, Georgia might not work in Manhattan. And what works in Cincinnati might not work in Montana. And for 9 lawyers or 5 lawyers or 6 lawyers in D.C. to mandate a rule for all 50 states is stupid. That's the first thing. The second thing is the facts of this New York case are really blurry. So you have to get a special permit to conceal carry a handgun. You have to have a special reason. You can't just say I like my guns. You have to say I'm being I have a restraining order, or I'm being followed, or my house has been robbed twice, whatever it is.
Or I'm Anderson Cooper and a lot of people threaten me.
Sure, whatever it is. But here's the thing, Pete. And Roberts recognized this at oral argument. We know no facts. We don't know how many permits have been requested, how many have been denied. We don't know whether it's easier in Syracuse than New York. We don't know anything. These are just two people whose requests for a gun were denied. And whether their example is indicative of others, we don't know. So the court really shouldn't really even be deciding this case. Actually, there are several cases the court should. There are three of these five. There are five important cases. Three of them the court shouldn't decide. And this is one of them. But the non-legal kind of political science idea about this is, will the court issue a strong Second Amendment opinion in the wake of the gun tragedies in Texas and Buffalo? And 5 years ago, I would have said no. 3 years ago, I would have said no. In fact, I did say no.
Yeah.
Now I don't know anymore. So that's a big deal. I want to say something about the abortion case. I know we've talked about it ad nauseum, but I want to say one more thing about it that maybe I haven't said as clearly as I should. I just read an hour ago. This is on Twitter. I haven't verified it, so bear with me on this. But it's from a reliable source. It's from a guy Sewell Chan, who used to be the op-ed editor of the New York Times. So he's a responsible source. He's covering Texas. The Texas legislature is considering a law requiring public school students, young ones, to learn that that life begins at fertilization. Jesus. That a human that the protecting the unborn human is incredibly important, and all of this nonsense. Pete, that's happening in our schools.
Yeah, Texas schools they got a lot of backward stuff that they teach there.
But that's going to spread.
They would just be adding this. Here
and that's going to spread. And that's going to spread. And so this is what
the Republican convention, I'm reading it now, where the draft platform calls for requiring students to learn that life begins at fertilization, and they have to listen to live ultrasounds.
Yes.
Ah.
So, I said to you, Pete, that one of the reasons I started TikTok 6 months ago or 4 months ago, whatever, is because I wanted to reach the kids. And I've been advising Planned Parenthood now for 20 years. Get into the schools, figure out a way to convince seventh grade girls they could never be equal, and boys, that women can never be equal without reproductive autonomy. And Texas and other red states are going in the opposite direction. So what I want to say about this is, I think the Dobbs opinion will reverse Roe and Casey. I think it'll have a very different tone than the draft opinion, which was egregiously horrific and wiped away women from the issue. I think the tone will be different, and no one knows, but I think the tone will be different. The results will be the same, and they'll probably put some stuff there about the life of the mother and rape or incest, which they didn't put into the draft opinion. But the bottom line is, within 2 or 3 weeks from today, red states are going to be able to prohibit pretty much all abortions.
Jesus.
And what I want to say about that is, this is the time for civil disobedience all the way up to the line of violence. I'm advocating this in an essay that's coming out, or has come out, depending when this airs, Monday morning on Dorf on Law. And the very last couple sentences of that is, you know what? It's time. It's time to do everything short of violence, because we shouldn't live in a country where women are treated this way. We just shouldn't. And I absolutely will go out and protest. I already did once, at the Women's March, but I'll do it again and again and again and again, because we have to now fight at the legislative level. Courts are not going to. I've been warning you about this for how long, Pete? That the courts will eventually let us down on this issue.
Did you hear about, just real quick, did you hear about the potential scheme that a lot of people are pressuring, I guess, the Biden administration, that the federal government has facilities in all of these states where they're going to make abortion illegal, and in those facilities, those federal government facilities, they could perform abortions. So
what's going to happen if that happens? I'm all for. I'm for everything. Anything we can do to make it easier for women, I'm in favor of. But I've not read about the hypothetical you're just talking about. But what's going to happen, Pete, is once the court reverses Roe and Casey, the right is not done. They're going to return in a blue state, let's say New York or California, and they're going to say that the fetus has a right to live, a constitutional right to equal protection under the 14th Amendment. That's what they're going to say. Now, until 2 years ago, every con law expert in the country, everyone that I heard opine on this issue, said that's never going. The Supreme Court will never. The Supreme Court might reverse Roe and Casey. We've all thought that for a long, long time. But no one thought the court would ever make a holding that, in fact, not only can states outlaw abortion if they want to, but they have to, because it's a person.
You think that's coming?
I know the argument's coming. So, but forget what I know. Forget Segall. Mary Ziegler, who I think's been on your show. Mary Ziegler is a law professor at Florida State. I think she's the country's leading academic expert on abortion. She's written 5 books on it, on the history, on the political nature of it, the judicial of it. She's done everything. She's amazing. And she's predicting that. And she's my go-to person. Now, whether it wins or not, no, we don't know. But it'll win in some lower court. It'll win in the Fifth Circuit, Pete. It'll win in Texas. And it might well win in Oklahoma and Montana and all the other places. What would the Supreme Court do? I would have said there's no chance the Supreme Court would ever disable blue states from protecting abortion. Now I'm not sure anymore, Pete. I may have mentioned this last week, so I apologize, but I had a world famous philosopher on my podcast a few weeks ago from the University of Chicago, really top 5 philosophers in the world. And we were talking about this, and he was very kind of nonchalant about it. He said, Eric, you of all people should know this. There are 6 deeply religious anti-abortion people on the court. What are you expecting? What did anybody expect?
Right.
Once they got Barrett and Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, that's 6, not even 5. It's 6. John Roberts' wife was head of Feminism for Life for decades.
Right.
What do you expect? I mean, so is it really more and if he's right about that, and if it's not more complicated than that, who knows what they'll do? I can't imagine the court doing that, Pete, but they're going to make the argument. They're going to get the opportunity. That I know.
Well, you made your point about, civil disobedience and protest and being in the streets. I'm not sure at this point what that does. And I also don't think, I don't see it. I don't see it. My friend Liz Winstead and other organizations, are really doing the best that they possibly can. And I just think that it's an issue that so many people just actually don't care about, which is so hard to believe because, I don't know. I thought we did, but I sure hope I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's important that the left organizes in a smart political way on this issue. And we've never done that because of Roe and Casey and the Supreme Court protecting the abortion right. Once the court says it's not doing that anymore, I would like to think that smart political activists will figure out a way. Here's the only thing I know. There's going to be abortions. The only question is whether they're safe and legal or unsafe and illegal.
Right.
And anyway, can we talk about the 2 religion cases? I don't know if we've talked about these.
We talked about the football coach.
How about Maine? How about the state of Maine?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Maine last week.
Okay, sorry. All right,
that's okay. I mean, people can listen to that.
And we've talked about the EPA. And we've talked about the EPA, right? Maybe we haven't.
Yeah. We definitely talked about that because I brought that one up to you last week. I wanted to make sure that we talked about that. Yeah, this is about the Clean Power Plan and whether or not states can regulate pollution.
Not whether states can. First of all, there is no. That's nothing with the states. The issue is whether it's what authority the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, has to regulate nuclear power plants. And the answer should be a lot. That's been the traditional answer. This court is going to say a little, not very much. But the main point I want to make is we don't have a rule that this case shouldn't be a case. Obama passed a rule to regulate clean power. A court struck it down. Trump came in, changed the rule. So that rule's gone. Trump put in his own rule, which of course let nuclear power plants get away with stuff. Trump came and left. Biden came in. He said, I'm not doing the Trump rule. He repealed it officially. I'm not doing the Obama rule. I'm going to do my own rule. And it's going to come out, not yet, but in a while. And it hasn't come out yet. So the court is hearing a case involving a rule that's never been implemented and is never, ever, ever, ever going to be implemented. Why is it? There's no case. There's no and the Solicitor General of the United States, who argued the case, said, "Why are we here? There's no rule. We're not debating anything. There is no rule." And what the right is trying to do is get a court decision that limits what the EPA can do in the future. But that's not what courts are for. There's been no injury in this case. There's been no rule. So I don't, case has me riled up because we obviously need the EPA to fight climate change because Congress can't do it. And what the Koch brothers and their friends and the industries and all of them, now it's the Koch brother, one's dead, but what they're all trying to do is get the EPA hamstrung, but there's no case. Right. There's no controversy. Right. It's judicial aggression of the worst kind. It really is. One interesting thing about all 5 of these cases, 4 of the 5 cases, not the abortion case, but the other 4 cases, the 2 religion cases, the EPA and the gun case. No form of originalism supports conservative results in those cases. There is no plausible, non-frivolous, originalist argument for any of them. And the court is going to go non-originalist, probably in all of them. And that's all you need to know about originalism right there. That's pretty much all you need to know. I'm serious about that. I want to go back to abortion for a second, something you said. I want to push back on it. I know how desperately strongly you feel about this issue. You have 2 daughters as well. I know you're pro-choice all the way down in every which way. 2 things. One is I do think we have to politically organize. We do. You've been doing great at the local level, district and stuff. We just do. I don't want to minimize that point. Second, though, here's Tina Winston, one of our friends, calls me Dr. Doom and Gloom, and it's a fair statement. Although, if I'm Dr. Gloom and Gloom because the Supreme Court is full of doom and gloom.
Well, to be fair to Tina, I started calling you Dr. Doom and Gloom. She agreed and piled on. I mean, I want credit.
So here's a silver lining. The Reagan and Bush administrations 8 times from 1980 to 1992 asked the court to overturn Roe versus Wade. 8 times the court said no, and the 8th time it issued the Casey decision where it emphatically said no. We're not doing it. We're not reversing Roe versus Wade. And then the Republicans went back at it again. This might, in the long run, not year 1 to year 5, but in year 6 through year 20, may be a classic example of be careful what you ask for, as to our benefit, because I think the Republican Party is going to be shocked at how much their fundraising is going to be harder in a world where they can't attack Roe versus Wade.
What makes you think they can't attack Roe v. Wade, even if they have some kind of ultimate success with it? They are either going to make up something else on abortion or just, God, they'll raise money on putting gay people back in the closet. I hear what you're saying here, but I don't think they'll have any problem replacing it or just keep banging the drum. They could say, we haven't gone far enough. These babies need to be.
Well, they're going to do that. No, they're going to do that. We know that. Mary Ziegler tells us that. They're going to do that. Pete, I don't think that's going to work. Well, the American public, wait a minute. The American public, first of all, doesn't want Roe versus Wade overturned by every poll ever put out there. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think very few people want to call the fetus a full human being that has rights.
I hear you, but I think that the American people overwhelmingly don't want to see Roe v. Wade overturned. Not that they even know that, much less the polling question. But I also think too many, I want to be careful with my words, too many Americans, far too many, also will shrug their shoulders once it is. Too many.
I hope you're wrong. You may well be right. I hope you're wrong. I will say this: inflation's not helping because what we do know. Again, I'm not a political scientist, but I'm pretty sure about this. I've been watching Republican ads. What the American people care about is having toilet paper and food on
that's not an American. There's no way to message it, but it's not an American thing. Inflation is the same all over the world.
No, it's not Biden's fault. There's nothing about this that's the Democratic Party's fault. But the Republicans are going to message it.
It doesn't matter. Most people won't Most people could care less
Right.
about politics. They just know how much gas costs, and
Exactly.
and they know it didn't cost that much when the last guy was president, and that's that. It's a wrap, right? That's just how it works. Unfortunately.
Right. So here's the question about that, though. Probably, I think that's the conventional wisdom. You and I agree. Inflation is going to be everything, but it depends. If the court goes all nutty on these 5 cases, I think the Democrats can use them a little bit in the political arena, especially the gun case, Pete.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
they can, and they are. I just don't think it's enough.
No, you're maybe right.
I don't know, but I don't know. I want to.
Yes, Mr. Gloom and Doom.
Well,
I'm trying to bring a ray of sunshine to these proceedings, Tina, and Pete is being all gloom and doomy about it. I want to be clear.
It's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. Yeah, and you're the one with COVID. I feel fine.
I feel like
Let me
shit.
ask you. Can I just ask you one more question before? I don't know if you had more to go.
You can. No, I'm done. I just want. This is the message. There are 5 really important cases left. Hope for the best, and the best means narrow decisions that don't affect more than but expect the worst.
Right.
And I suspect we're going to get almost the worst.
My question is, Judge Ludwig.
Yeah.
Federalist Society.
He's not. No, he's not.
He's a conservative jurist. He's a conservative scholar. He is. Tell me why his testimony mattered. And were you shocked by his halting the way he spoke?
Yes.
So haltingly and slowly. People said he might have had a stroke, but then they didn't.
Right. That was weird. I can't explain that because he's a really smart guy. Listen, there are 2 types of Republican judges in this country, federal judges, and one is almost extinct. There are those federal judges, Republicans, who went to law school before the Federalist Society was formed in 1982, 83, 84. So my friend Judge Posner was one of them. He was a Republican judge who went to law school long before the Federalist Society was born. The other one that's really important is Anthony Kennedy, who also went to law school long before the Federalist Society was formed. And that explains, so Judge I'm sorry to talk about Judge Posner, Pete, but I have to. No, I have to. In the couple of years before he got Alzheimer's,
drink, everybody,
when he was still a full mind and body, he struck down admitting privileges, rules about abortion. He struck down bans on same-sex marriage, and he wanted to stop Notre Dame from getting a Hobby Lobby type exemption from the contraception stuff involving Obamacare. Republican judge appointed by Reagan. Why? Why would a Republican judge appointed by Reagan do all of those things? Why would Justice Kennedy, a Republican judge appointed by Reagan, be the most important gay rights judge in American history and issue decisions saying prayers at graduation ceremonies and football games are unconstitutional? And why is Judge Ludwig, the guy you're talking about, being all reasonable about Trump and everything?
Yeah.
The answer is they went to law school before the Federalist Society was born.
Oh, wow.
That's the answer.
That's how old he is of a conservative.
And there's a fourth judge in North Carolina, Harvey Wilkinson, who thinks Republican, who thinks Heller was wrongly decided, and who's a reasonable, very famous judge. He's reasonable as well. He also, as far as I know, Ludwig, Kennedy, and the guy in North Carolina I just mentioned, Wilkinson, they were Federalist Society members later, but they went to law school before there was a Federalist Society.
What did the Federalist Society change you probably could talk about that for hours, but it
changed everything. Yeah, it changed everything. Well, it gave conservative law students at elite schools a home, and then the very few conservatives in elite, like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Chicago, Columbia schools, Stanford, Berkeley, in the 1980s, there became this pipeline of conservative law professors to conservative judges. And so it was just, it's just a stream of Federalist Society culture. And Kennedy, Posner, Wilkinson, and Ludwig came of age before that. And that's the difference. And it really is the difference, Pete. I wrote a whole piece about this. It really is the difference. Ludwig is really smart. So he was actually thought of for Alito seat, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was high on the list, but I think he was not a true believer enough. Why was he not a true believer enough? Maybe a lot of reasons. I think a main reason is when he went to law school, there was no Federalist Society.
Right. That's interesting. Just real quick, I mean, I was trying to tell my dad and I were talking about the hearings and the arguments being made. And this argument that the vice president has any power over certifying, like no one's ever made that argument. Like that's not a thing anywhere.
Well, John Eastman made that argument.
Yeah, but before John Eastman, like no one, that's not something that was debated.
Well, no, that's not that. Well, no, that's complicated because in Bush versus Gore, which I will remind your listeners, Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Roberts all worked on. How scary is that? And then they were lawyers for Judge Bush in 2000 in Florida, helping him. But in any event, there were 2 or 3 justices who did pay lip service in Bush versus Gore, not 5, but 2 or 3. I forget if it was 2 or 3, to this idea that state legislatures have complete and total power about certifying electors, and no state court can get in the way of that. But no one cared about it because it was kind of a throwaway part of that case. You may remember the battle in Florida, Pete, in Bush versus Gore in 2000, was between the Florida Supreme Court and the Florida legislature to a significant degree. The legislature wanted to stop because Bush had won. The Supreme Court of Florida said, no, keep counting. And the Supreme Court said, stop counting. And so they did. Part of that and throwaway lines was the legislature gets to decide, not the Florida Supreme Court. It's a bizarre and ridiculous argument. So it was hinted at in Bush versus Gore, to be fair.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask you about laude and that. So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, but let me be clear. The idea that the federal government, federal judges, much less, would tell the state of Florida, New York, Georgia, California, whatever, that if your state constitution gives power to the state Supreme Court to figure this stuff out, but no, you're not allowed to do that because we have a federal rule against it, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And it's, by the way, anti-states' rights. It's anti-everything. Pete, don't forget, tomorrow, literally tomorrow, Georgia or New York could pass a law, as long as they do it, they pass a law with, the legislature and the governor signs it, that says from this point forward, the legislature picks who gets to be the nominee for president.
Right, the Constitution allows for this. I remember you teaching us that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It just does. Now, no states have that law, thank God. For the Supreme Court to create that as a matter of constitutional rule is stupid. But now, if Georgia did that, Atlanta would burn. Atlanta would burn. If the state of Georgia passed a law saying, we don't care about the people anymore, the legislature is going to pick the nominee for president, Atlanta would burn to the ground. There'd be riots like you can't believe. There would be.
Yeah.
What would happen
there should
in New York
be.
if that happened? And there should be, right. There would be.
I'd fly down.
Well, it's not going to happen in Georgia. It could happen like in places like Texas and Oklahoma, though.
Hey, speaking of which, I'll just say this on the record here. I'm in talks are coming down to Sarin B, which is, in case people don't know, this wonderful community outside Atlanta, where I would do a performance and then you and I would do a Q&A on stage.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Okay. And it'd be a bunch of listeners there. I'd make a whole weekend of it.
Pete, I've been on your either old XM show or this podcast well over 100 times, probably more. The most memorable for me is when you kindly asked me to co-host the show from Sarin B here. And we had a really good discussion about the South. Remember that?
Yeah, we did.
And we had great callers call in.
Yep.
And it's one of my I have 1,000 fond memories. That's one of them.
We should do that again. We should organize it. That kind of was serendipitous, that conversation when we started talking about the South, but we could kind of maybe bring some people in. But some that'd be fun, right? Yeah. There's no money for it for you.
That's okay. I don't there's no money in any of this for me. The only money I get is from my university.
You'll get nothing. Just so you know.
In this case, what I get is something more valuable than money. I get friendship and more friendship.
I'm going to break up with you there.
That would be sad. That would make me really, really sad.
Oh, good. Well,
what I remember, I'm going to say this on air, is when did you come here? Like 6 years ago, something like that. 5 years ago, I don't know.
I've been there a billion times, but go ahead.
No, but
I go to Atlanta all the time. I'm known for saying.
Except you never call me. Anyway, no, we were at Saren B, and we did the radio show, and then you did a comedy show, which was incredibly funny. And two things about this for your audience.
That was a great show. I killed.
First of all, folks, you need to understand, I went with Pete to look at the stage, to look at the settings, like 5 hours before the show started. And first of all, we were walking down. We had just gone swimming. I remember this. And we were walking down, and you were like just normal Pete guy, friend. And then we got to the stage, and the people met us there. And you got all business really fast. And watching that transition was really interesting to me. And you were very concerned about how the stage was backlit and what was, and because it was a beautiful view of the lake. Yeah. And you were like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
They can't have that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I learned a lot about stand-up comedy that day, which I loved.
Yeah, there's just a few simple things that need to happen, and you kind of I've been doing it so long, and we fixed it, and even if we didn't, but sometimes there's no light on the face.
No, but there were other things too. Just the way you set it up was really fun to watch. The second thing I want to say is that night, at least 3 people, maybe more, and Lynn was with me, so it was kind of fun. And this is the first time it ever happened in person. Came up to me and said, "Hey, how's it going, Professor Segall? We're big fans." And I remember thinking, "What do you mean
fans?" Yeah.
What is? I'm a law professor.
Yeah, but you'd been on the show so many times, and people, the way that we talk, people just consider you their friend too. So hopefully we'll see your whole family there again in, I think, early November.
If we don't have COVID, we'll be there.
Yeah, seriously. You said, you tweeted, you feel like of course your whole family has COVID, but you felt like more people with COVID right now.
Yes, I do. I
hear people say that a lot.
This is just my orbit, so it's not empirical. But no, I definitely know more people today with COVID.
So many of the positive. Like you probably didn't report your positive result.
Who did I report it to?
Well, that's the point. The point meaning it's not the thing you're really thinking about at this point. And so the numbers, tracking it is very hard. So it's always a lot higher than
it's really disconcerting, and it is ruining our summer. And again, we're fortunate not to be really sick. The kids are supposed to go to sleep.
Luckily, you guys go on vacation seemingly 1 week a month. So I think you'll be all right.
That's not true. My kids, forget Lynn and myself. My kids are signed up for a 4-week sleepaway camp. My kids do a lot of circus stuff. You know that. A lot of aerial stuff. So we found this great camp in Pennsylvania. That's one of the best aerial circus type camps in the country. And they're supposed to go next Saturday. If they're not negative on Friday, they can't go. It's a month-long camp. It will be there are worse things and no one's dying, but I have perspective. But it'll be sad if they can't.
Remember that summer when we couldn't go to circus camp because of COVID?
Okay, stop.
No, I know how much they love that, and that would absolutely suck. Hey, perspective is all that matters.
Kai is going into 8th grade, somewhere between 7th and 8th grade. Are we going too long? No. My camp experience between 7th and 8th grade was incredibly important to my lifetime development.
You remember the camp experience between those 2 years of your life?
I've told you this, Pete.
Well,
My girlfriend from that camp, who I had not talked to, it was 1971.
Oh, I was going to make an old joke, and you stepped on it. Go ahead.
Hold on. We were boyfriend-girlfriend for 2 months at sleepaway camp. It was a 2-month camp. I got home to New York, and she wanted to talk on the phone. She's from Brooklyn. I was from Long Island.
Oh.
I had no interest in talking on the phone. So we broke up, August 1971. In 2020 or so, I found I don't know how it came about, but I found her on the internet on Twitter, and it turned out that she ended up being Meg Ryan's best friend.
Oh,
and she ended up owning a production company with Meg Ryan.
Oh wow,
and did a bunch of movies. And then she's an author now of 5 books. Anyway, so I wrote her and I said I had this stupid podcast that all we talk about is constitution, and she's a lawyer too. All we talk about is constitutional law. You want to come on my podcast and talk about Hollywood and the business of Hollywood and what does it mean to be a producer? And she was like, "This is Eric Segall from 1971?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I'd love to." So she came on the pod. I hadn't seen her since 1971. Talked to her anyway. And at the very end of the podcast, we talked about Hollywood and what being a producer means and lawyer and all that stuff. At the very end of the podcast, she said, "Eric, you were my first kiss behind the wood shop." And I said, I remember that kiss. It was a great kiss. So what I'm saying is that summer was very important to me. I don't want Kai kissing people at camp, but I do want them to go to camp.
Oh, Kai can kiss whoever. But I'll say this. With
Yes.
the woodshop, because metal hadn't been invented yet.
Pete, I'm going to say one other thing, and you're going to go, well, yeah, of course. You didn't have to say it out loud. God, I hated woodshop. Oh, man. I
really?
love this stuff.
I love woodshop.
You see me working with wood with my hands, do you?
Oh, I love
Do
it.
you see that happen?
I do it now. I do it now. I watch videos on YouTube of like guys doing wood stuff.
I'd rather have sticks poked in my eyes.
I understand. I understand.
3 or 4 times.
I mean, obviously, you've got someone to do it for you. Listen.
I do not. And by the way,
Jeez.
I'm still getting guest house jokes because of you.
Come carve a bear out of this tree trunk. That's an impression of Segall. That's actually live audio from the guest house.
Actually, the truth is, we had woodshop. We also had Photoshop. And that I remember because I remember
I had that photography class. Yeah,
we took the pieces of paper and we went into this dark room and we put them in like trays of water,
chemicals,
and all of a sudden pictures appeared.
Yeah. You're in there and they had the red light on. You were in there with a girl who was pretty that you liked, and she only wanted to be your friend. Her name was Julie. Yeah, I remember that.
Her name was Nina Sadowski. Yeah. All of that happened. Yep, all of that happened. Hi, Nina, if you're out there. Sorry, we got far astray. It's going to be a hell of a 2 weeks, my friend.
Yep. Well, we have you to help us through it, which is such a valuable source. And I can't thank you enough for joining me here on Why are we talking on the Saturday night? I don't think we've ever done that. We have exciting lines. I just came from warming up the John Oliver. Great show tonight.
He's awesome. Not only because
you were on that show.
Yes, that's not why he's awesome. He was awesome long before that. He's really smart. I find him really smart. So what do you do for the? Wait, don't end the podcast yet. What do you do for that audience?
I just warm up the audience. I go out and go, hey, everybody, thanks for coming. And then I do a bunch of jokes. I make fun of people. And
you used to do, your current audience may not remember this. You used to do that for Jon Stewart.
Oh, they remember because I bring it up it's a bit.
Okay.
I almost felt like you were in on it. I bring it up so often that I warmed up the audience at the Colbert Report for 6 years that we do. I actually say, I don't know if you know, but yeah, the Daily Show and the Colbert Report. Some nights.
Well, no, you got Lynn and I tickets for the Daily Show.
Sure. I got Aaron Carroll and Ali Soufan on the Colbert Report.
That you tried doing that for me really hard.
I did. I tried getting you on Joe Rogan more than anything.
You mentioned me on Joe Rogan, but he cut you off.
Yeah, over the gun argument. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's not going to be receptive to that. I'll tell you that.
I don't think
Anyway,
so.
Thank you, my friend. Back to
all right,
my family.
buddy. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Happy Father's Day to one of the best.
You too.
All right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. There he goes. Eric Segall, everybody, at eSpin Segall, of course, on Twitter and TikTok. Listen to the podcast, Supreme Myths, and I hope you liked that. I hope you learned a lot and appreciated his perspective as always. Sorry for the minor phone issues there, but hopefully that was all tolerable and audible and enjoyable and interesting and at times heartfelt and funny. I love the opportunity to have my daughters interview their grandfather, my dad. That was a really special thing, and I hope that you got a lot out of that as well. Maybe you could do that with your family. I can tell you how to set that up. Not hard. And that's all I've got for you. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. I hope that you are okay today. Stay in the moment. Today is all we have, as Chisel D said. Love you guys. Be the change you want to see in the world. John Carroll, take us out.
There's a whole lot more of us who know us right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. You got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. And even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand dog ground and then stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to